Hello and welcome to Nikolay's genetics lessons, and today's problem is: consider a herd of 100 Hampshire sows in Hardy-Weinberg equilibrium. What is the expected ratio of the heterozygotes, white-belted carriers of the allele for solid color, to homozygous recessive solid-colored animals if? And three questions. How we are going to solve this problem? First of all, we need to know Hardy-Weinberg formula, which represents three genotypes in a population which result of the combinations of two alleles. So we have p squared plus 2pq plus q squared, and all three genotypes, when we combine them, would equal to 1 or 100%. And p squared stands for the homozygous dominant genotype, 2pq stands for the heterozygous genotype, and q squared stands for the homozygous recessive genotype. By the way, I forgot to give you some more information about this breed. Hampshire hogs are black with white belt. They have erect ears. The belt is a strip of white across the shoulders and covers the front legs around the body. The Hampshire, which is heavily muscled, lean, and meat breed, is the fourth most recorded breed of the pigs in the United States. Hampshire pigs were imported into America between 1825 and 1835 from Hampshire County in England. Some of the first importations were also known as Mackay hog, because the man by that name was thought to have imported these hogs from England to America. Now let's return back to the problem. So we are told that homozygous recessive is solid colored animals. And the question A, what would be the frequency of the heterozygous genotype if we know that 25 sows are solid colored? That means belong to this genotype. So 25 out of 100 is 25%, right? So 25% equals to 25 out of 100, which is also equals to 0.25. This means that 0.25 is the frequency of this phenotype, which is homozygous recessive. And frequency of the genotype means genotype small a, small a. And how we can find a recessive allele? And we need to know both frequency of the dominant allele and recessive allele in order to find the frequency of the heterozygous genotype. So we can find frequency of the recessive allele if we take a square root of 0.25. And this is going to be frequency of the q allele, which stands for the recessive allele A. Square root of 0.25 is going to be 0.5. And again, this is frequency of the recessive allele Q or recessive allele A. Now we can find frequency of the heterozygous genotype if 25 sows are solid colored. Again, we have found frequency of the Q allele, and because we have only two alleles here, take a look: dominant allele and recessive allele. If we know frequency of the recessive allele, we instantly know frequency of the dominant allele. So P plus Q equal 1. If Q is 0.5, that means that frequency of the dominant allele also have to be 0.5 in order to make 1. And now we can use these numbers in order to find frequency of the heterozygous genotype. So frequency of the heterozygous genotype would be 2 times 0.5 times 0.5. And the answer is going to be 0.5. So this is an answer to the first question. Now let's find the answer to the second question. 4 sows are solid colored. So 4 out of 100 is going to be 4%. So 4% equals to 4 out of 100, which equals to 0.04. And square root, so we find frequency of the Q allele, square root of 0.04 would be 0.2. That means that P plus Q equals 1. If we found that frequency of the Q allele is 0.2, then the frequency of the P allele is going to be 0.8. Now let's find the frequency of the heterozygous genotype in this case, which is 2pq. So 2 times 0.8 and times 0.2. And the answer is going to be 0.32 or 32%. Again, if you need an answer in percentage form, we just have to multiply this number by 100. So let's put this number here, and frequency of the heterozygous genotype is going to be 0.32 or 32%, and here 50%. What if one sow is solid colored? And 1 out of 100 is going to be 1%. So 1% equals to 1 out of 100 or 0.01. So frequency of the Q allele is going to be square root of 0.01, which is going to be 0.1. P plus Q equals 1. If we know that frequency of Q is 0.1, that means that frequency of P is 0.9. And frequency of the heterozygous genotype 2pq would equal to 2 times 0.9 times 0.1 would equal to 0.18 or 18%. And this is going to be an answer to the third question. So 0.18 or 18%. But this is not the end of our calculations. Let's take a look again at our question. What is the expected ratio of the heterozygotes to homozygous recessive animals? So now let's find the ratio. For example, we got an answer here that 50% of the animals are going to be heterozygous and 25 out of 100 are going to be solid colored. So our ratio is going to be 0.5 to 0.25. Do you remember? We found it here. And in other words, 50% of the animals are going to be heterozygous and 25% are going to be homozygous recessive. Also, we can say that ratio is going to be 2 to 1 because this number is twice bigger than this number. Now, second variant, 4 sows are solid colored. We have found that number of the heterozygotes are going to be 32% or 0.32, and 4 out of 100 is going to be 0.04. This number 8 times bigger than this number. That means our ratio is going to be 8 to 1. And the last question, 1 sow is solid colored, and we have found that frequency of the heterozygotes are going to be 0.18 or 18% to 1% or 0.01. And it is easy to say that this number is 18 times bigger than this number. That means that ratio, simplified ratio, is going to be 18 to 1. So we have found 3 ratios. And this is all for today. Thank you for your attention. Please subscribe for my new videos that I post almost every day. And see you in the next video. Goodbye.